When I look up and I look back and all I did was survive through my entire 20s, I don't have many memories. Oh my gosh, guys, we're on episode 2. Hi, guys, welcome to She's Enough, hosted by Ayodele Ayomide. Ah, I don't know if I'm gonna keep yelling every time we have an episode, but it's just episode 2, and I'm pretty excited to be doing this. I'm super excited to be overcoming my fear of talking and sharing my truth. So, hi guys, and I'm super excited to have you guys listening. So let's get into it. As the first episode, I did an introduction. I let y'all get to know me on a personal level, but without going too deep. I introduced She's Enough, and which is surviving, healing, and evolving. And that's just my personal story. And I just kind of want to today we're gonna talk more about surviving. I'm gonna talk about the S. Like it makes sense to kind of start from the beginning and just talk about what it looks like to be a survivor, to be in a survival mode, to be surviving currently. I do believe we all are surviving something in life, whether it's a bad day or a hard situation, a hard time, a hard season in life. You could be surviving a death, a loss that you didn't know could overpower you or overtake you. You could be surviving a job loss. You could be surviving abuse, addiction. You could be surviving what I thought would kill me. Like it's so many things that I think we have to survive on a day to day, and we have to choose to survive, And when you hear the word survive, you're kind of like, oh, that's kind of drastic, but it's like deciding, like, I'm gonna make it through this, like I'm gonna make it through this. I'm gonna be okay. And that was where I found myself at 21. Was found myself in a really bad situation. I went to jail, and it went to trial. And I just at 21, I just didn't think there was going to be any way out of this situation. Like I'm like, Lord, how did I get here? Like, and for me, growing up, I was a child that followed rules. Like I did things, but for the most part, if you talk to any of my childhood friends, they're gonna tell you, Ayo gonna follow some rules. Okay, she's gonna do what she's supposed to do. And to be at 21, I just remember being like, how did I get here? And to be sitting in jail at that, and then now finding out that, oh, we're gonna take this to trial. I just thought I was watching a movie. Like I really just felt like this could not be my life. And I remember as time progressed, it just was like every day, like you just got to survive this day. Because I didn't think I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't talking. Like I just was like, you got to survive this day, like this second. Like I felt like the pain was so unbearable that at some point when I looked up, it just felt like now I just exist, like it was just more so like my existence in a physical form, but internally I had like left my body. Like I just had told myself, keep showing up, keep showing up, keep showing up. That at some point it became my second nature. Like just fight through, fight through, fight through. You're gonna make it, you're gonna make it, you're gonna make it. And I drilled that in my head so much that that's how I kind of maneuvered through my 20s. So that was the beginning of my 20s at 21. So I go to trial, I beat the trial, and after that, so mind you, I feel like when you're going through a survival season, it's supposed to be a season, but we'll get there. Um, you're kind of just like, okay, you don't think about after you survive this thing, right? And I think that was my situation. It was just like, make it through this situation, Ayo. You're a strong woman, like you're a strong young lady. Make it through this situation, like poke your chest out. Like that's how I talk to myself like a drill sergeant. I had to find a way to train myself for what I felt like was war. And I feel like that's how I kind of maneuvered through life. And it was just like, okay, I didn't think about the aftermath. Like, okay, Io, what happens when you do make it? Like, I didn't think that far. So let's fast forward to when I actually made it through. I beat the case, and then I finally graduate college. It's like, so what next? What happens when you make it through that hard thing that you don't think you're gonna make it through? Like, I don't know. I feel like we don't think about that, because you're in the middle of it. You're dead in the middle of what you're going through, right? And it doesn't feel like you have an escape plan. It feels like it's just a right now plan. It's not a plan for the future. It's more like this moment. And I feel like that's what survival mode is. It's mainly just trying to get through right now until the next thing. And then when you arrive to the next thing, it's like, okay, make it through that. So you got to think about it. When we're doing that, we're we're teaching ourselves how to just make it through. Even if it's by literally the last piece of strength that we have, it's just like make it through. And when I finally looked up, I was just like, oh, all I've been doing is just making it through. I've just been surviving. And there's so many things that are accumulated or built up along the way, right? Like isolation and trust issues and feeling helpless and feeling hopeless and not wanting to talk to people or share yourself or having this defense mechanism of like having this wall up, like so many unhealthy things happen in this span of survival mode. What should have just been a season became a lifestyle for me. I had got too comfortable in just surviving. And it was just like, there is more to life than just, I got to make it through. I got to make it through to the next thing, to the next thing. There's more to life than that. You miss the journey when you're just trying to make it through. You miss out on those special moments where it's just like, yeah, this is hard, but I love who I'm becoming. Like, yeah, this is challenging. Yes, I feel isolated. Yes, I feel alone, but I know I'm not. Like, it's like, how do you talk to yourself through these seasons? And I think obviously I'm talking like this because now I'm 8 years later, I'm 29 years old, and God in this season is now telling me survival mode will no longer serve me. And I think he's been trying to tell me that, but he's like really making it clear, like in this new season, it cannot go with you, right? And I'm like, Lord, that's all I know. Like, what do I do when I'm not in survival mode? And that's when he told me, like, you have to enjoy the journey. If you're so focused on the destination, when you arrive, you will still not be satisfied. When you get to where you're going, you're gonna find something wrong. You're gonna find something to complain about. You're gonna find it that you might even feel alone even when you do arrive. You thought you was alone through the isolation and through the surviving. You might feel like that even when you get to the destination because you still have not learned how to journey. And I think that's very important because God wants us in community. Like, I do believe there's certain seasons that do need to be silenced. There's seasons where God wants all of our attention and he takes things away from us because he knows it's a distraction or but I always felt like when I look back on my journey, he always gave me one person. Like, I know I had more people, but he always gave me one person that really, 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 really understood because I was a person that struggled with being vulnerable and sharing myself or even just simply saying, I need help. I never could say that. I need help. So he always gave me a person that I felt like I didn't have to say that to, but they saw it. And unfortunately, that's not the case for everybody, as far as like realizing that. I do believe God gives us what we need, but it's up to us to utilize it. And habits become a routine, and your routine becomes your lifestyle. So whether you have bad habits or good habits, it becomes your routine. It becomes what you do daily. It becomes your response, whether it's an action, in thought process, and management, and whatever it is, and that becomes your lifestyle. So my habits was like poke your chest out, like get through this, get to the next step, get to the next season, get to the next goal, and then you'll be all right. And it's just like I thought about it the wrong way. It should have been more like this is what's happening in my life. God, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. I don't know how to even open up and tell anybody I need help. But this is overcoming me. right? I was a 21-year-old young girl feeling like she couldn't trust nobody, feeling like everybody was turning against her, everybody was covering themselves. And here I am still trying to protect people and be this person. And when I simply should have just said, this is hard. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I got myself into, but I feel so alone. Like, and I feel like that would have been an intersection for me to now lean on people, lean on my community, lean on my family, lean on my friends. And maybe I wouldn't have adopted this lifestyle of survival mode. So I want to read a scripture. It's John 10:10, and it says, "The thief comes only in order to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have and enjoy life and have it in abundance to the full till it's over, till it overflows." And when I think about that, it's like the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. In that season of my life, that's exactly what he did. That's exactly what he did. And had I known that that's what he was doing, and all I needed to do was call out to God and realize, like, this is the enemy. And whatever is at work, God can stop it. And I didn't realize that. So I allowed the enemy to take my mind, overcome like my whole situation to where I thought God was punishing me. I thought God was allowing this to happen. And ultimately, you finally learn, like, although your circumstance change, I didn't have to change with my circumstance, right? I didn't have to succumb to what was going on around me. Like, yes, it was a lot going on. Yes, you're in the middle of it. And a lot of times we read the Bible and we have this notion of like, yes, believe, yes, be blessed, yes, have faith, yes, 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 all these things. But because we know how it's going to end, I feel like when it's us in the middle of whatever our situation is, it's like, oh, it's breaking loose. It's like, ain't no way I'm gonna make it through this, because you can't see, you don't know how your story ends. You don't know how this situation is gonna come together for your good. So it's just like when we're reading the Bible and God is already telling us that the enemy is gonna come and kill, steal, and destroy. We're supposed to really take that into every situation, understand that when adversity is in front of me, I be like, hold on, I gotta talk myself through this because I know what I'll do and I know how I want to respond and I know it's not healthy. And when I'm just so quick to respond, I don't have time to realize, like, okay, hold on. Is this the Lord? Is this the enemy? And if I don't know who it is, because it could be God very much so teaching me a lesson, or it could be the enemy that I'm like, hold on, enemy. God already promised me this, right? God already told me that this is mine, but because I'm getting closer, the enemy is at work. So there's a difference with, or when it's like, oh, I'm right here in front of whatever it is that God told me is mine, and maybe He's challenging me, maybe He's bringing something out of me. That's how I feel in this current season. My God, you sent me here, but it seems like I am facing every adversity at every stop. But then I finally realized a year later, after moving to New York, that He was trying to undo some things for me to become who He's calling me to be. So, and I only realized that because I had to take inventory on what was going on around me. And when your circumstances changing, you cannot change with it every single time. You have to be able to just hold on. And that's only when you have matured in your walk with Christ. And I feel like I have. So there's things that I no longer allow myself to do because I'm just like, girl, you can't say you have faith and keep acting out like a child every time you're faced with adversity. That is not how faith works. So there was a quote that I read. It says, "Survival may be for the fittest, but revival is for the faithful." It brought to my mind, like, that's when you find God in the middle of your situation. When you start to realize, like, it's not, the world will teach us it's the survival of the fittest. So I think I took that notion of like, you have to be strong. You have to get through this. Build up your stamina. Poke your chest out. You don't need nobody to help you. No. Be renewed in the mind and in your strength in God. In that moment, I was weak. I was weak. I could not handle that on my own. And the fact that I thought I could at 21 just shows you what was leading, the world was leading me. Because I could not do that on my own. And I know when I look back on that situation, God is the only person that brought me out of that. I really thought I was going to go to jail for like some time. I really thought they was going to kick me out of school. I really thought like all these things that they were putting on the table for consequences was going to happen. But some way, somehow, I thought I was going to get myself. I didn't know how I was going to get through it, but I thought in my strength, it would be enough. But it's just like, no, be made new, be revived in God. Like, our perspective has to change in the middle of what we're going through. And I feel like that's what God has really been teaching me as things have been thrown at me in this specific season, moving to a new city, making new friends, trying to figure out a career path, trying to figure out, what it is that God is calling me to do, being uncomfortable, like in every area of my life. It's just like I had to surrender and be like, I don't have the strength. And ultimately, where survival mode also teaches you control. That's a red flag of mine that I adopted over time through surviving. Like I have control over how all of this plays out. I'm going to try to control as much as I can until I can't anymore. And after a while, I feel like I've seen myself do that. It's just like if I can't control what's going on with me personally, I'm not going to try to control anything that's going on with anybody else. But regarding Ayomide, if I can control it, I will. And 9 times out of 10, I be thinking I can control it. But God has really showed me in this season that I am not in control of nothing. I be trying to plan. I'm one of those people, I plan it all out. I have notes for days. Like, I'm going to plan it all out. And God's just like, I showed up to New York thinking I had A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to maybe X. Z might not have been planned, but I had it all planned out. And God, I came here and I'm talking about not within less than 24 hours, nothing went as planned. Like everything from what happened from when I first got here, it knocked me off with all of my other plans. And I was just like, oh, I'm not in control. And I started to spiral because a person who doesn't know what to do with losing control, that's what they do. I'm like, I'm getting anxious. I'm like, did I make a mistake? Did I read things wrong? All these things. And it's just like, no, you're just not in control. God is in control of all of this, right? And that's really what he's been teaching me. And it's kind of scary to not operate in survival mode. Like, so in the past 2 weeks, I feel like I heard God tell me the equipment that I used for last season is not needed in this new season. And I was like, so what am I supposed to do in this new season? Like, And it's like, okay, you make new routines that serve the season that you're in. And that will be, I don't have to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning and run to the gym and do this hard intensity workout. No, I can wake up slowly, meditate, have my devotional, walk to the gym, do Pilates. Like I don't have to be so on go. And I think that's all I know. And I feel like God has been trying to help me create this new life. And I have been fighting it. And he just kind of told me like less of doing and more of becoming. And I just think that's hard for a person who's just been on go and surviving. That I'm like, it's a little strange to not do so much or feel like I have to do so much or feel like I have to overwork myself, because that's what I feel like a surviving person is doing. Like you're steady on go, you're steady trying to figure out how I'm going to make it to this next destination, have another goal, have another thing, have another thing, have another thing. And it's just like, it's okay if you don't have nothing to do today. It's okay that you're just going to, not do anything by choice. Or it's okay that you're not 10 all the time. Like maybe operate from a 5. Like, and that doesn't mean I'm not going to give 100% towards those 5 things. That just means I don't want to have 10 things on my plate. Like, so it's just like, I feel like I was always feeling like I had to be doing something, showing up for somebody, overextending myself, doing things that's just unheard of. And it's just like, you don't have to do that. God is like saying, take it slow. Lean on me. You got this. I got you. And as hard as this season that I'm in is, I know God got me. And I feel like He wants me to tell you guys that, like, God got us. You don't have to only survive. Surviving is not enough. That is not the whole journey. Surviving is for a season. So, yes, find a way to make it through. But that does not have to be your life. All you have is all that you need. So even if you don't have all the money in the world, even if you don't have all the friends in the world, even if you don't have whatever resources you think you need to be whoever it is that God is calling you to be, trust that you do have it and trust that it is enough. Yes, to be a survivor is a beautiful thing. To survive a disease, to survive a situation, all those things are good for a season. God tells us there's a season for everything. And that is my favorite scripture because it always reminds me that there's new things in every season. So if you always think you're going to just carry over into the next season, it's just not how life works. And I don't think that's how God works. He gives us just enough of what we need in that season. So after surviving that hard time, after surviving that hard season, it's like, okay, that doesn't have to be your response to everything. That doesn't have to be your rite of passage. Like, that doesn't have to be your path. Enjoy the journey, even with all the adversity, even with all the pain, even with all the stretching and uncomfortability. Enjoy it, you know, because when I look up and I look back and all I did was survive through my entire 20s, I don't have many memories because I wanted to focus. I wanted to lock in. I wanted to figure it out. I wanted to get through it. I didn't want to play around. I didn't want to socialize. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to do anything because it was just like, you got to get through this, IO. But that doesn't have to be you. You don't have to only just get through this. God has more for you than just to just make it through. God has plans to prosper us. And if I would advise younger me anything, it would be like, you're going to be okay. Show up for yourself every day, but still live your life. Because at any moment, thank God I'm still here to talk about this and make a change. But what if I wasn't here anymore? All I would have had was sadness and hurt and pain to be a memory. So if that's you in your situation, know that God has a plan to prosper us. It may be how you start, because you do have to survive something. We have to make a choice every day, but it does not have to be where we stay. And for a person that, like me, who stayed in survival mode for too long, get out of there. There's nothing there. There is nothing there. And God has told me to stop visiting the dead place. So after you survive, after you overcome, you start your healing journey. You move forward. You accept and embrace whatever it is that situation taught you or gave you. So, thank you guys for tuning in to episode 2. Super excited and so grateful that you guys are joining me on this journey. And be blessed. And she's enough. She's me. And she's you.